Vikings beat the Raiders in walk-off fashion. We're breaking it all down. It's coming up next on the Locked On Vikings postcast.
You are Locked On Vikings postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back in the lab, back at it. Our first Vikings postcast of the 2024 season right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman, Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, Sam Ekstrom, host of the Minnesota Football Party, and Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show. Tons to unpack and get into over these next 30 minutes or so. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, walk-off winners in dramatic fashion, because, of course, could that be a sign of things to come? Perhaps. Lots to dissect here. I want to give our favorite winner and loser, but let's maybe save that for segment 2. I want to kind of break down all the rookie debuts as well here over the next 30 minutes. But let's just start with everyone's A topic, the quarterback evaluation. Sam Darnold versus the rookie J.J. McCarthy. That's what's probably going to be on everyone's mind up until week 1. Ron Johnson, you were there live at TCO in attendance. What stuck out the most, I guess, from both these guys? Granted, we only got to see one series from Sam Darnold, but what changed maybe, if anything, when it comes to how we're supposed to view this quarterback room and this quote-unquote quarterback competition?
Well, Sam Darnold's 1. J.J. McCarthy is 2. You look at J.J. McCarthy played against lesser defensive backs. He played against lesser pass rush. The one thing I'll say is Kevin O'Connell was a genius. When you look at what he was able to do with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy and the time he had him, he made Kirk Cousins better. He made Josh Dobbs a star. He made Jaron Hall last season look really good. He made Nick Mullins look serviceable. He has turned Sam Darnold into an absolute machine when you think about how quick he got the ball out of his hands, how decisive he was on the dig routes, getting him in that second window. He understood exactly where he needed to go with the ball. The only mistake J.J. McCarthy made was if your offensive line gets absolutely run through and your running back has no option but to just fall on his back, throw the ball away once you get free. He tried to extend that play and it was late, so that throw was late. If he was able to sit in the pocket and it was a clean pocket and throws it sooner, the DB can't undercut it. He was a second late, and that's what he'll learn about the NFL versus college. College a second late, you might get away with it. NFL second late, it's going the other way. And the DB was a really good DB. So that's going to be a learning experience. But he bounced back. After the interception, he came back out, made some great plays. And then the touchdown to Tristan Jackson was beautiful because they were even when he made the throw. He threw Tristan Jackson to the spot, and he did not have to break stride. And I think that was the question mark. It was how many times had receivers slowed down just a little bit. You saw none of that today.
Yeah, well said there. Good breakdown, Luke. Just from the eye test, I know you're going to go back and watch the All-22, but just sitting down and watching these guys for an hour or two, honestly, I thought Darnold looked like the guy who has been in the league for 6-7 years, and I thought JJ, to Ron's point, looked like the rookie making his first NFL start, being a top 10 pick. Some great, nice splash plays that made you feel good, and then obviously a few plays you want back. But how'd they look from the eye test from what you saw today?
Yeah, I'm with Ron. I mean, Darnold very clearly going to be the starter, should be the starter, the guy that can keep this thing afloat while you iron out some of the things that we still saw with McCarthy. McCarthy showed me plenty to be excited about, a lot to be excited about. But that shaky start, right? And it wasn't just the interception, which you can never do that again. You can't, especially if you're throwing on the run, you can never have it behind the guy like that. But beyond that, there were a couple things that were a little bit late. There were a couple throws that weren't quite where he wanted to put them, and some moments that weren't his fault. Shaky start in that second quarter. Come out of halftime, relax a little bit, and suddenly you got Tristan Jackson on a fade down the left sideline. You find him open, you hit him, right? Oh, they've screwed up a coverage. Trent Sherfield wide open, you hit him. We take those all day long, especially when you hit him in stride. And they're good throws, even though the coverage had messed up and they were no longer contested throws. They were still good. You can be excited about that. So for me with McCarthy, yeah, I saw there's plenty to be excited about, but also you kind of see and understand, okay, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done here. He's not ready yet, but thankfully Sam Darnold looked perfectly ready to go, and he can keep the thing afloat while we wait.
The stat line doesn't look much. I mean, people who didn't watch the game, they're going to wake up tomorrow. They're going to look at the paper. They're going to see 4 of 8, 59 yards. Ty Chandler dropped 2 of those 4. And all in all, remember, Darnold converted 2 third and longs. Those were great. And I thought he looked pretty good. And again, the small sample size we got. To your guys' point, just to echo, JJ on the other hand, I thought he looked about what I expected him to look like. 11 for 17. Had the 1 turnover, almost could have been 2, but came back with those 2 huge touchdown passes as well. So some great highlights to build on, a few lowlights, of course, but all in all, yeah, he looked like he's got, potentially he's got the goods to be the guy at some point down the road. But as of today, Sam Ekstrom, did the needle move at all anyway, either way, or are we kind of at the same point we were coming into today?
No, I feel better about J.J. McCarthy right now than I did at about 11 o'clock this morning. I think that, and Ron, we had Jeff Schwartz on your show on Tuesday. What did Jeff Schwartz say? He wanted to see some aggressiveness from J.J. McCarthy. This is a guy that was asked to not screw it up at Michigan. And today, I actually felt whenever there was a 3rd and long, I felt like he was going to give you a chance to convert. And he made a really risky throw on a 3rd down and it got picked. He's going to have to learn to mitigate risk a little better. But he also made some dynamite throws. Braun, you tweeted it. He had a dime to Nick Muse before the Sherfield touchdown. That was really
the sickest throw of the day. I don't care about the touchdowns. That one rocked.
Yeah, that was a tight window. And he's very comfortable throwing off platform. So I was really impressed. And I thought, obviously, except for the pick, more accuracy than had been billed to me from his camp performances, where I think it's been a little shaky at times. Today, I thought was very largely mostly good, and Darnold, good as well. And his 1 drive probably deserved to have that end in a touchdown. A couple bobbled passes that weren't caught in the end zone, but the quarterback play from the 1s and 2s not bad.
Yeah, and we'll probably preview in segment 3 just what the Cleveland game looks like, but just knee-jerk reaction, Ron. Do you think we see more J.J. McCarthy? Was that more than you expected to see today? I know KOC mentioned we're going to get a heavy dose of J.J. McCarthy, but if you just had to guess as of now, Cleveland next week in Cleveland, preseason game number 2, what do you think the quarterback kind of, pie that he's going to divvy up looks like next week if you had to guess?
I think it's going to be the same. I think it's going to be pretty much the same. I think they're pretty much sold on Nick Mullins as 3. I think Jaren Hall is fighting for 3, but looks like he's 4. And then I think J.J. McCarthy, you want to get him as much as possible in the NFL games. But I think it's going to be similar. I talked to Josh McCown before the game as well, and I talked to Mike Pettin. And so they both were kind of saying the same thing. Heading into Cleveland, they're going to get way more work with these guys in practice. And so that practice, what it looks like all week, because I think they said they have like 4 full go periods that they're going to sprinkle in throughout the week. So it's going to be legit like scrimmage, hit, tackle. I mean, not crazy. Don't try to kill our guys, but there's going to be hitting, there's going to be tackling, there's going to be thud. And so they feel like they're going to get a lot out of their quarterbacks in those periods. And I think they're going to have both JJ and Sam Darnold with the 1s just to get a feel for that. How much Justin Jefferson goes, who knows? But I know they're looking forward to having Dalton Risner back. Sounds like he should be back Monday night for that night practice, or most likely Tuesday when they get to Cleveland. He should be back ready to go. And then Robert Tonyan is the question mark because you get him back in that offense as well, and it adds a different level to it. But I think it'll be the same divvy up. I think it's going to be Sam Darnold. You're going to go until we feel good about it. And then J.J. McCarthy, you're taking us the rest of the way. And then, hey, Jaren Hall, whatever's left, you get it.
Yeah, you mentioned Jaren Hall. Again, no Nick Mullins, so Hall gets all the late reps. 7 of 16, 63 yards was the final stat line. Anyone think he looked, I don't know, improved from what we saw in the Green Bay game, I guess, last year, at the end of last year, I should say? Still don't have a lot on him. Not a very big sample size.
Someone shave his knees off or something? Like, did he lose 2 inches? These 3 batted balls. He really struggled with how much air was supposed to be on those. There was one down the field that probably could have layered a little higher. There was a screen that went too high on him. It was like very erratic, but it was nice to see it all kind of like settle down after a bit, get into that 2-minute drill, deliver a couple of nice, easy passes, get back into the rhythm part of the offense, set up a game-winning field goal so that we can feel good about literally every draft pick. I think every draft pick gave you something to feel really excited about today.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue because coming up next, we should continue to do a deep dive on the rest of the rookie debuts, including Dallas Turner. He got his first NFL sack today, plus our biggest winners and losers. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, they got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Okay, so we got our first look at J.J. McCarthy. How about the rest of the rookies? Luke, good tease there, good segue. Obviously, you used 2 first-round picks, so Dallas
Glad I made you
Turner
laugh, Luke.
was the other guy.
Luke missed it. But Luke
Is this an episode of The Voice? What is
It might
this?
be.
You're a judge turning around on The Voice.
It might
For
be.
those watching
Yeah.
on YouTube, you got to watch our YouTube. So for those
Yeah, for
listening-
audio listeners on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, where you'll be able to find the postcasts after every game, you should go check that moment out on YouTube. I don't want to tell you what happened.
Yeah, no spoilers. Go check that out. I know it's just one game here, guys. It's a preseason game. Dallas Turner played, 4 series, I want to say. But that was about as good as a first game as you could ask just from an eye test, I thought. As advertised, he looked juice off the edge, got his first career sack on that big third down. Plus, I think it was about 3-4 plays before that. Absolutely torched Andres Pete for a quarterback hit as well. So, trying not to overreact here, but just going off of what's in front of us. Dude looks the part of a top 20 pick, and I think Flores got himself, another anchor, another toy to play with in the front seven. Ron Johnson, what'd you see from Dallas Turner's first game?
First, I felt extremely old because I was talking to Dallas Turner's mom, and we're pretty close in the same age. And so we were having a conversation. And at first, I thought she was Jasper Brinkley's wife. But then I realized who that was because my wife and Jasper Brinkley's wife ran track together in the Olympics. And so we were talking, and then Dallas Turner's mom comes over, and I kind of got confused with who was who. And then she's just talking about her son. And when she started talking about, what she was excited to see, how he knows he's coming here to make money, I kind of right away pregame, I was like, oh man, this Dallas Turner kid, he has the juice. And he came over and kind of hugged his mom, and she was like, I'm really excited for you. And you could tell he was just really juiced to get his first home game. And so to see him actually do what he did, that first sack, for those who understand, he kind of came off with a quick rush. It was a slight hezzy, wasn't a full hezzy, but it was like a hesitation. And then he just dipped, and he dipped and stayed forward. A lot of guys dip sometime and get pushed into the ground. He dipped and stayed with the same speed to where he came up so quick. I don't think he realized how quick he was at the quarterback. And the quarterback was like, what are you doing here? And then he moved and he got the sack. I mean, it was beautiful that he could do that, but also to understand once you get Jonathan Grenard with him, with Van Ginkel, with Cashman, with Ivan Pace, I mean, it's a lot of different weapons Brian Flores is going to throw at these guys. But I talked to Brian Flores pregame as well, and same thing. He was like, man, we're just working on – I don't want anybody to have an idea what I'm going to do, even my guys sometimes, because he says sometimes he'll give different guys the ability to say, hey, if you see it, take it. And I think that's what's the beautiful thing about this defense.
Yeah, it wasn't just seeing how he looked in pads for the first time versus, real competition, which he checked a lot of those boxes. For me, it was also seeing where Brian Flores was going to use him because, obviously he's going to be coming off the edge more times than not. But, was he going to be lined up inside with his hand in the dirt? Was he going to be dropping back in coverage? I'll have to go back and watch the replay and really hone in on him to see where exactly he lined up in this first game. But, Flores is going to want to get his money's worth out of his versatility versatility and kind of what he brings to the table, his ability, I guess, just to do a little bit of everything in that defense. Sam Ekstrom, your first impressions from Dallas Turner?
Yeah, explosive. I think he's going to be playing a ton week one. I mean, there's not going to be any kind of waiting period. Fans won't have the frustrations that they had with like a Lewis Seen who couldn't see the field. I mean, he's going to play. He's going to be your number 3 or maybe depending on, how Van Ginkel's doing, maybe your number 2 in certain packages, edge rusher. He's going to be impactful. You can tell that against the starting line that he was already giving them a ton of trouble. And this is just his first preseason game. And I think some of those tricks that you alluded to, Luke, moving him around, moving him inside, probably stuff that you start to see unveiled in the regular season, maybe not so much in preseason as Flores keeps things under wraps. But I think we learned today that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah might have nailed this first round of the draft. I know that they took a lot of flack for all they gave up to move up to get Turner. But if Turner is that guy that we saw today, I think that's a worthwhile trade.
Yeah,
and you stop caring real fast on about the third sack. You don't care about the fourth rounder anymore.
You don't care about that. Yeah, future 4th round day 3 pick at all. And to your point here, Sam, again, super top heavy draft, so there is a lot of pressure on both JJ McCarthy and Dallas Turner. But then you get to obviously the Kyrie Jackson tragedy that put a damper on things, and then you got this slew of day 3 guys. Will Reichert starts his chapter out right with the game winner. That was fun to see. You got 2 linemen, Walter Rouse and Michael Juergens. And then, a Tasmanian devil, he looked like, Levi Drake Rodriguez. We know he's gotten some run with the ones as well in practice, but he got his first career sack. And then a nice deflection on a big 3rd down as well. Who stuck out? Anybody stick out a little bit more than the rest for you and your money, Luke?
The Levi Drake Rodriguez, those couple of highlight plays were really, really fun. But on all those highlight plays and a lot of the Bo Richter highlight plays too, there was Jalen Redmond doing some dirty work. Jalen Redmond had a fantastic game. Then he started getting into the backfield in the 4th quarter too. But earlier in that game, the Levi Drake Rodriguez sack, Jalen Redmond was the crasher on a looping stunt. And same thing on that first Bo Richter sack. And then he just started making plays everywhere too. It's not the sexy job and it's not the job that gets you the sacks, but I think he deserves kind of that partial credit for those as well. And also Walter Rouse with a really key block on the first touchdown of the game, the Kenny Nwangwu breakaway touchdown. Walter Rouse with a key block. So a ton of great stuff from the day 3 rookies as well. Michael Juergens, I thought he played okay, although he did not have a good rep on the blocked kick. But thankfully, there were, I think, 2 Vikings that didn't get out of their stance, which can distract you. So I think he might get away with it.
I got to fling out one more UDFA. I've heard a lot of buzz about Dwight McGlothern, the UDFA corner, making some noise in camp. This is the first time I've actually sat down, watched him take some live reps in a game, obviously. I'm not saying he's a future Hall of Famer or anything, but he's got the attitude, the energy you love your cornerbacks to play with. Played fast, played with some swag, flied all around, was around the ball a lot. So I am officially impressed with Dwight McGlothern, and I think I may be on that bandwagon as well. Let's do a winner and a quote-unquote loser, just a guy maybe necessarily didn't look as good as you would have hoped. I'll just start kind of rapid fire here. I'll just start with mine. Captain Obvious, Jalen Nailor, kind of stole the show right away in that first quarter. 3 catches, 63 yards. More importantly, too, what I love the most, 2 of those 3 catches came on critical 3rd and long situations. And then he was also going against the Raiders starting defense too. So I know a lot's been made about this wide receiver 3 job. I think we can finally put that to bed. And I, for one, love that, Jalen Nailor is it feels like he's gone out and just taken this thing outright. And we're not giving this job to somebody just by default because we got to pick somebody. So 3rd-year guy, he's flashed a lot, just couldn't stay healthy. Stacking days in practice, making some plays. He's the winner for me during this preseason game 1. Ron Johnson, you got a winner you'd like to fling out here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tristan Jackson. I think, he with his big plays, whether it's here or another team sees this on film, is like, hey, let's bring him in as our wide receiver 4. Maybe the Patriots. I know they're going with a youthful movement now. They got rid of Juju Smith-Schuster. But I think Tristan Jackson just showed Coach McCardell, hey, I know we don't know what's going to happen with Brandon or Jordan Addison. I know we got JJ, maybe Nailor's 2. If Powell is your 3, he's not your 3 if you need a vertical guy. And your vertical guy now can be Tristan Jackson just to run some deep posts, maybe run some bigger comeback routes. Brandon Powell is going to be more of your slot motion guy, your choice route guy. So I think Tristan Jackson is making it really hard right now on the Vikings to say we're just going to move on. He probably is wide receiver 5, if not pushing for some reps in 4.
Yeah, well said, Sam Ekstrom. You got a winger you want to fling into the hat here?
Well, let me just react to your winners, Naylor and Tristan Jackson. I think that might make Brandon Powell a loser today.
Yeah.
Brandon Powell.
Yeah.
That's what seriously Larry said in the chat. By the way, come by live for these postcasts after each game, and you can join the chat as well.
Chat is exploding. I love it. And also, Trent Sherfield caught a long touchdown today. Sherfield had a nice game. So Brandon Powell.
That was a terrible coverage, though. That coverage was horrible.
We take those.
Sherfield.
We take those.
Hey,
Yeah,
Ron Johnson could have scored 6 on that one today,
I could have
right
scored.
now. Cold turkey.
I would have
no
got caught it like the 3, but I'd have caught it though. I'd have been there. That was
that. Let me mention. That's hilarious. Richter, who Luke alluded to, and he's been mentioned in the chat. Bo Richter, maybe a little sleeping giant that the Vikings got in undrafted free agency from Air Force. He really only had one big college season. Like, he had 7 sacks in 2023. Hadn't really done anything before that. They got him in undrafted free agency. That looked like a dude that you draft. That did not look like an undrafted free agent. I know he's playing in the second half of a preseason game, but with as shallow as they are at edge rush behind Dallas Turner, Andre Carter's not doing anything, to really stamp his spot. Patrick Jones has an expiring contract. I think he's probably your 4th at best. I think that Bo Richter made a good bid to make this team.
Yeah, I think that 5th spot is the only one up for grabs. I do think Patrick Jones pretty much has a stranglehold on that 4th spot, and maybe even will rotate in more this year. I'm got to go to special teams, though. I think Ryan Wright might have taken that punt job today from Seth Vernon, so there's my winner and loser. A couple of not great punts from Seth Vernon, including one that got bailed out on a holding penalty, but just there was one shank from deep where I don't even know if that got to the Raiders side of the field. And then I think he kind of outkicked and directionally wasn't accurate either. And Ryan Wright looked better. Plus Ryan Wright still being the holder kind of gives him the job anyways.
Yeah, Lewis Cine, maybe a guy. First of all, I didn't know how much run Lewis Cine was going to get, just knowing how much practice time he's missed the last week or two, and just the 2 or 3 reps I kind of honed in on him specifically. Was just hoping he would stick out a little bit more. Just didn't really do much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Came in on a safety blitz, kind of got bullied and knocked to the ground, and I think I have officially given up on that dream of maybe even trading him for a conditional pick. Probably isn't happening either. Anybody else want to fling out a guy that maybe just slightly disappointed you coming into today?
Brian Asamoah, not great. Had a
playing a
nasty
lot.
whiff. Yeah, playing a lot
Late
deep in the game.
Yeah.
But I don't think he played once it was Dallas Gant and whoever the other off-ball guy is. I think he was done. But missing that tackle on the quarterback on a 3rd down, giving up another 1st and goal, and a couple of other plays where it seemed like I think he might have misfit on the 2nd Zamir White touchdown as well. I think just not a great showing for him.
I'm going to
Jaron
go
Hall
with
didn't look great.
yeah,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to go with Jay Ward at corner. Like, he's truly a safety. He looked a little lost in some of those deep ball situations where he didn't really understand what coverage he was in, that he was in true man drop. So he should have just backpedaled and got out. And he kind of like stopped. And then the guy, that number 11, gets behind him and literally looks left, looks right, looks back left, and steals back there by himself to make a diving catch. So Jay Ward, I know he's a good safety. I know he's a good piece of this team and puzzle. But this whole cornerback experiment with him, I feel like Stephon Gilmore, I know a rumor that he's coming to town tomorrow. I hope he decides to sign for like $7-8 million and just not try to kill this cap. But I did see Rob Brzezinski in the press box, and so I know that like he's possibly coming to town. It's a rumor.
Did he look stressed? Brzezinski got work to do. Did he have to leave at halftime?
he just looked like he was. It looked like a man of the people. He was, because everybody was like, "Oh, is the salary cap going up?" All the same jokes and stuff. But yeah, Rob was up there just chatting it up, and I'm like, you know what? If Stephon comes, I hope they don't let him out of Minnesota, because clearly it showed they have to find another cornerback to fit Flores' system, because these injuries just really killed them.
Yeah, well said. All right, couple minutes left here. We got to touch on that Andrew Booth trade that went down yesterday, and that's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by LinkedIn, because when you start hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the job, right? Well, then LinkedIn Jobs is a no-brainer, because LinkedIn Jobs, they got the tools you need to help you find the right professionals for your team faster, and it's for free, because at the end of the day, LinkedIn is going to give you access to professionals you just can't find anywhere else. And they do all that while also making the process easy and intuitive. So easy, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate match within just 24 hours. Try it today. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. LinkedIn, terms and conditions apply. Today's episode also sponsored by BetterHelp. When you schedule is packed with your kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, it's time to give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched up with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Hey, what'd you guys think of the new kickoff rule? Ron Johnson,
hated it.
He's rolling away from it.
Really?
I hated it. Justin Jefferson hated it too, he said. But I think it looks bizarre.
All right, so are you saying you hated it just because Justin Jefferson said he hated it?
No, he
not a
agrees with
UFL
me.
enjoyer.
He gives
yourself.
my opinion validity because he hates it as
Right.
well. Ron is
bored. We're on to the special teams part of the show.
Ron is, yeah.
That's my Chris Collinsworth. I'm trying to roll in.
The Johnson slide. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan, but
Seeing it live is even worse. Like being at the stadium and watching it, it was bad. It felt like one of those movies that are like on Tubi or something. Like it's just like it's like who wrote this? Who wrote this?
It's better than
movie?
fair catches though. Like it's better than a million touchbacks and you don't have a kick. Like it's less injuries and we'll get used to it after like two games.
It's less head on collisions. Like and that's what like Gabe Henderson said the same thing. Because I asked him like, what do you think? And he's like, it's just weird. It is less collisions. It is more athleticism. So you see less bigger guys out there. So this is going to give room to maybe some of your like Brian Asamoahs and some of your smaller linebackers that are better in those situations, can block, but then also can run with the guys coming at them within like a 5-yard gap. Jitterbug type of guys. So Dante Halls, your Brandon Powells. I don't know if this suits Kene Nwangwu. I think it suits Brandon Powell as your kick returner. That's what I was going to say. I know we think he might have lost a little bit today because these other two receivers play well, but he's still going to be your punt returner. And I feel like he would be your kickoff return guy in that system because he has to be able to jump lanes. If you can get a guy that's quick and fast versus like straight line speed because you got time, you don't have any time really because they're up on you pretty quick. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if Brandon Powell decides to dress for this Browns one, or if they run it in the practice, if they run like a live kickoff drill in practice to see what guys they have that can do it.
All right, we got a couple minutes left here. We should at least mention, and I know we're going to touch on this more in depth on Monday's football party, but Andrew Booth Jr. traded to the Cowboys for cornerback Nashawn Wright. So cornerback for cornerback feels like kind of my cornerback bust for your cornerback bust, if we're being honest. I don't know a ton about Wright. I remember he was a top 100 pick a couple years ago, but I also remember at the time that being considered a pretty big reach. I know he had kind of like a late day 3 grade on him. So nonetheless, Andrew Booth Jr., he's out. And even though that's not like a big surprise to anyone, kind of a negative mark on Kwesi's 2022 draft resume, not even getting a drop of production out of that second-round pick. Any just quick thoughts on either one of these guys from either of you?
Just wait
Roster
till
cut
Mike
for
Zimmer
roster
gets
cut.
his
I was going to
pause
say Mike Zimmer
on Andrew Booth
pause.
Jr.
Okay,
Feels like
that is, I feel like a great personality match.
I love it.
Booth is an intense guy. I feel like that's exactly the kind of guy Zimmer. But I mean, you gotta, I don't know, not be the most like he's Wile E. Coyote as a corner. He bites on everything. He takes every piece of bait. So you got to chill that out.
Well, and I don't know Nashawn Wright's injury history as much, but if you got someone who's a little more durable, his special teams numbers would indicate he's competent in that regard.
He was hurt all year last year. That's the thing. Booth was good at special teams last year. But if Wright is good at that too, then maybe that's kind of the way onto the roster. Nashawn Wright is also like he's Joejuan Williams size. He's like 6'4". So
Nashawn Wright
like
was active.
Lengthy
He was
dude.
active from week 6 on last year. He played 233 special team snaps. So he can do something. I don't know if he makes this team. The Vikings have very little depth at corner, so he might. But again, they've kind of got like a special teams guru corner in Najee Thompson. So I don't know if they have room for another one.
Yeah, they don't have quality depth, but man, all of a sudden they got a lot of bodies.
They got bodies.
They got warm bodies back there, and he is. It's an uphill battle for sure because there's so many bodies ahead of him. He's coming in on the fly. Got to learn this Flores exotic playbook, and he's got about 2 or 3 weeks to make a quick impression. So likely probably not even a practice squad candidate is my guess if I had to put money on it, but we'll see. 60 seconds left here, guys. Anything else noteworthy you guys want to fling out before we get out of here? Or maybe a look ahead to game 2 versus Cleveland in Cleveland? Anything you're kind of looking forward to seeing? Maybe a matchup, head-to-head deal? Anything you can think of?
Justin Jefferson, electric on the mic. Vikings don't win if Justin Jefferson doesn't get on the mic in the third quarter
How fun
for
was
sure.
that?
I was going to say, Nashawn Wright, the one positive, he's 6'4", so he's kind of like a Caleb Evans. So cover 2, cover 4 type corner. I'm not sure he's a man-to-man guy. But I can see Flores maybe testing him out in the zone blitz stuff he does.
It's a bummer that these joint practices for the first time in a while are not in Minnesota. They're on the road this time, so fans here locally probably won't see them because they've been a lot of fun in the previous years. You had a couple former Vikings over there in Cleveland. You got Kevin Stefanski. That's probably where the real entertainment value will lie. And there's a chance if they feel really good about those practices that they bench some guys for that Saturday game. So I think Saturday will it'll give us a little more tape, hopefully on J.J. McCarthy, and that's the biggest story from this one. Will be the biggest story all preseason.
Yeah, well said. Game 2 next Saturday in Cleveland. Kickoff for that one, 3:25. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Got to go check out all of Luke's work each and every day over at Locked On Vikings. Check out Ron every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. Plus, check out the full crew on the Minnesota Football Party each and every Monday and Thursday with our host, Sam Ekstrom, on the mic. Go like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much appreciated. But we got to get out of here. That'll do it for us. Luke Braun, Sam Ekstrom, Ron Johnson. I'm Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.